Welcome to the GoHost4U Import Export system, specifically the map state and city function. Here we can see that there are entries on the imports from certain agents where their state and their city doesn't correspond to one that matches on your particular system. So for example, here we can see Vincent Real Estate has Alicante South within brackets, and obviously that doesn't match your system and also wouldn't be used very well in, for example, exporting those particular states to somebody like Chiero, who would recognize the south part as being an error and probably throw the property out. So what we have to do is we have to try and import the properties where their state entry and their city entry matches yours, or if it is correct, then we can add it to your system if it doesn't already exist. So we'll start off with the mapping function first, and as you can see here we have Alicante South and for example La Marina or Redales or La Mata, for example. Let's have a little look at La Mata, because we know La Mata is a bona fide area. I know that off the back of my head, and therefore I don't have to look it up. Some of these other ones you may have to look up to ensure that they are actually in the appropriate place. So first of all, we have to click on the map button like so, and here we then get a selection of options. We know that we want to map the Alicante South to Alicante, which is the correct state for this particular entry. So we click on the down arrow and we select Alicante. We then want to have a look to see if your entries for Alicante include La Mata. So we click on the button here, and I'll start typing because obviously we don't want to scroll down too many, so I'm going to put La Mata. And we can see that it already exists, and therefore I can select it by clicking it and then saving. Once we have the confirmation message, which is here, we can then close that and know that that entry has been made, and you can see confirmation because it exists here. For each entry that you have to make sure that the city is actually where it should be, and also that it exists in that particular state. And once you've done that, then you can either map it or you can add it as appropriate. Now for the adding, for example, we will choose this one from Smart Cell, and Smart Cell have actually got Alicante as the correct state, but Las Mismosas isn't included in your list. Now it's quite possible that this is because they are being classified as being in Playa Flamenca, and therefore you would have a choice of whether you would want to map Mismosas to Playa Flamenca or to add it to your system. We will take Las Ramblas as being a city which you probably would want to include onto your system, and therefore for this one I'm going to add it for you so that you can see how that's done. Simply you confirm that Alicante is the correct state, that Alicante exists on your system, and Las Ramblas is the correct city that you want to add, and then you click on the add to OSP like so. That will add that to the system, and for future imports using Alicante and Las Ramblas, those properties will be included. To remove existing entries, for example number 6, 7 and 8 and so on, just click on the add, and it won't duplicate the add, it will just remove those entries from your system. Los Balcones, for example, that is one that you can also add, and you can just click on the add button for each of those and it will remove those as appropriate. You have to do it for each one individually to tell the system that each of those properties where that is there is correct and should be imported the next time the import export has been run. If we scroll a little bit further through some of the entries that are on this list of mappings, we can see that there are a lot. For example, Alicante Punta Prima, which we know is a correct one. Normally you would only have maybe one page, but because this hasn't been done for some time, there is a long list of some 27 pages of entries. Unfortunately for this particular example, every single one would have to be added. So for example, with all these for Punta Prima, we just have to click on add and keep on adding to them until we have gone through the complete list. Once you've gone through the complete list, you will then be able to run your feeds again, or wait until the feeds are automatically run, and those properties that exist from these entries will then be added to your system automatically. So I'm just going to do this one page. When you get to the end of the page, you would have to then click on the next page and go through it like so. And for each entry, as I say, you will have to add or map or delete. You could delete these ones in Punta Prima because you know that they have been added to your system already, so you could delete them as well. But it's just as easy to add. It's up to you. Once you've completed that task, you will then have a page or two of properties, addresses which have actually been mapped. Now, if you're unhappy with the mapping, you can remap them and change those as appropriate. For example, here in Alicante South, La Mata, you could remap that and you could put it down to Torrevieja. You wouldn't, but it's an option. You could then change it to whichever you want, and then future existences of Alicante South going to La Mata would be then mapped to a different city uh, as you require. But these are basically the ones that are being saved for future imports and exports from your system. So whenever the system recognizes Alicante South and ASPI, it will automatically put that property as their state and city, Alicante ASPI, which is what exists on your system. If you have any problems, then just send us an email or send us a WhatsApp or message us, and we'll be glad to help.